I had so many reservations about making this video, just staring at the page wondering if I wanted to add fuel to the fire, but I just kept getting asked the same question over and over. Is DayZ better on PC or console? And given I have several thousand hours on each individual platform, Xbox, PlayStation and PC, I figured I'd try and shine some light on an actual answer. And although you might think you know what that answer is, it's not as clear cut as you may first think. If you like the video, please leave a like and a subscribe, it really helps me out. You have no idea. But without further ado, let's get into the war zone. But without further ado, let's get into the video. Oh my god, I'm a ginger. Nope. Let's start off by talking about the elephant in the room, the biggest difference: modding. Modding is probably one of the most requested console features in existence, and personally, with next-gen systems being able to handle a lot more than their predecessors, I'm not entirely sure why it isn't a thing. But it isn't, and based on reports, it probably never will be, at least not in the same way as PC. But that's not to say console doesn't have any form of modding whatsoever. You can get cool, unique locations, increased loot, hardcore modes, and entirely revamped servers such as the PvP ones. In fact, all you have to do is look at a single server recommend video I made to show how much variety there actually is on console. But PC can do all that and then a lot more. It adds a ridiculous amount of additional content, from vehicles, helicopters, events, AI, code locks, and another of the most requested features, maps. From the Malsk to Deer Island, the variety in maps and additional survival mechanics is incredible, but none of this stretches over to console. And sure, I could argue that it stinks way worse than an Amber Heard sleepover, but I feel as though that would undersell what console offers. In comparison, console offers two maps, Chernarus and Livonia, and don't get me wrong, both maps are also great, with the latter supposedly about to receive ongoing updates, increasing its playability for a lot of players. And despite the amazing maps offered on PC, most people's hearts lie with Chernarus or Livonia, which is available from the get-go. Nevertheless, this is definitely a point to PC. The available mods and additions are just too good not to give it the win on this front, but there's a lot more to talk about. If you're looking at getting DayZ for the official experience, both console and PC essentially offer the same package. Next gen has improved the performance of consoles significantly, even adding 60 frames per second and 4K in recent years. And although PC can offer increased graphics and performance, the console version is nothing to be slept on. Unless you're comparing them side to side, most people won't notice the difference, and the gameplay is not affected by the graphics at all, because DayZ is not about the graphics. And before anybody questions my PC specs and monitor, shut up. DayZ is a lot smoother on PC, however, especially when doing things such as driving quickly or walking around the larger bases. But that doesn't mean console is bad, at least not now. It used to be awful. However, last gen can show its age when it comes to overall performance and doesn't always provide the most stable of experiences. And that doesn't mean it's unplayable, but you really can notice the difference in quality upgrade between the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X. But I'd say next gen graphics alone were similar to PC on medium to touching high settings, not quite reaching the realms of max, and definitely not meeting the stability of a PC, with last gen falling quite a bit short of both, probably more around the low to mid PC settings. But then we come to controls. Well, given the settings we have available to us, sensitivities and so on, they're pretty similar. Obviously, mouse and keyboard can be an advantage, especially in combat and shooting, but console can use a mouse and keyboard too, so it's not really a point to PC. And although a PC can use a controller, it's not as refined when using it on PC compared to using a mouse and keyboard on console. I think that's probably because when people play games such as DayZ on the PC, they tend not to use controllers, especially considering the key bindings are quite various and there's a lot of things going on. I could be wrong, I'm just saying. And there are definitely advantages to both depending on what you want to use them for. For example, inventory management is significantly better on mouse and keyboard, which is mostly found with the PC, whereas driving is significantly better with controllers. And I know there's always going to be someone out there who's like, well, I have 72 gabillion hours in DayZ and my PC can land satellites and is programmed to perform oral intercourse on your wife if you've had a hard day at work. And one time somebody asked for a doctor for a choking person in a restaurant and I said I'm not a doctor but I have a 3080 and everybody cheered and laughed laughed because I'm so cool and awesome and likable, and I've never had a problem driving with keyboard. Alas, your slow clap awaits. But that changes nothing that I just said. Driving can be a nightmare, especially in games like this on the keyboard. But what about servers? Well, let's ignore mods completely and focus on the experience the servers offer. When DayZ first came to Game Pass, I got really annoyed at the community. I actually stopped playing for a while. They were casual players who always killed on sight, never followed the rules, put no effort into learning the game, only to review bomb it every opportunity they got, saying it was too difficult or unrefined or just wasn't fun. They were the sort of people to put me on the same side as COVID. They took something I loved dearly and they messed it up. Hashtag Game of Thrones. It was a struggle to play, and DayZ is so easy to attract hate because it is a difficult game to play with very little guidance on how to actually play it. But luckily, that soon died down, leaving only the people who actually wanted to enjoy the game playing it. PlayStation and PC, however, their player base has remained mostly consistent. However, and I have no idea why, but on console I found you are significantly less likely to be killed on sight, meaning adventures with strangers can be more naturally occurring and easier to obtain. And I don't know why, because PC has some incredibly amazing and genuinely nice players, all of who enjoy the game just as much, with amazing admins who put in a lot of time and effort into modding and the community itself. But it's something I've also heard mentioned to me from other dual platform players. I don't know why, but it is absolutely a thing. Furthermore, although consoles don't have mods, what they do have is a community just as dedicated as PC, and given they're subjected to more restrictions, they have an inherent drive to think outside of the box and provide you with as fun an experience as possible. And with stronger reliance on Discord for PC and now console, they can both create a more immersive environment with things like currency and traders. Honestly, all platforms here do a really good job and I can't knock them, and if they didn't, I would switch to something else. Because regardless of what you think about your non-chosen platform, you can't argue that the other side aren't as passionate as you, because they will argue and argue and argue, as demonstrated by basically every social media platform every time somebody mentions PC Master Race or console being better. It's just one of those things. And luckily they take that passion and they apply it to DayZ. And luckily not murdering, because it would be a real shame if they applied their passion to murder. That would just be way out there. But that delightful subject brings me onto something I feel can make or break an experience, and the thing that affects most games I play: hackers. Over the years, these people have screwed more kids than Prince Andrew, and unfortunately us more adult players are no exception. Have a stash? They'll take it. You playing stealth? They have ESP. You spent 20 hours building a base? They're already in it. You want to hide behind a wall? What wall? You're already dead. They'll take you out quicker than Kevin Spacey did his accusers. It can completely ruin your experience, and although a lot of community admins try to tackle it, official is rife with them, and community servers and admins are mostly fixing hackers after the fact rather than preventing, because they just don't have a choice. And this is something that affects PC substantially more than console. I mean, ridiculously more. This doesn't mean that every server you play on will have them everywhere and you won't be able to have a good experience or a great game. You absolutely will. I can play for hundreds of hours and not encounter a single hacker, but they are there, and sometimes a certain death or raid makes you question exactly what went on behind the scenes, and you'll probably never actually find out. So this is a point to console. Fewer hackers, hands down fewer hackers, and a huge hit to PC. Hacking ruins games for everyone. I don't understand why you'd want to win if you have to cheat. Not something I understand. Don't like hackers. If you're a hacker who cheats to win a game, I hope a dog eats your face. Shout out to good hackers though, you people rule. So then, console or PC, what is better? Well, as I said, I have a lot of hours in both and I have no foot in any particular camp, so I'm trying to remain as unbiased as possible, because honestly, if I thought a single platform offered a poor experience, I simply wouldn't play it on that platform, and I certainly wouldn't be talking about it. However, I do want to answer the question. Modding does make a difference to gameplay, allowing you a much more catered experience, plus vastly different maps, which opens up a new world. And based on that, I can see why so many people recommend PC over console. It really can change the game, but console still offers a solid experience, and for a game that was originally intended for PC and then ported over to console, they have done an outstanding job. So for an official experience, you can't lose on either platform, with consoles offering fewer mods and maps, but a community that is just as great, just as fun, and an experience that is just as addictive. Either way, you're probably going to get what you're aiming for. And that being said, if you're a fan of a certain console, get it on that. If you love PC more, I recommend you get it on that. Any DayZ experience is a good DayZ experience, so although it can be argued you gain more with PC, that in no way implies you actually lose anything by getting it on console. At the end of the day, this isn't going to be the thing that makes you love a console if you don't like playing on consoles, and it's not going to be the thing that makes you like a PC if you don't like playing on PC. But if mods are important to you, you definitely need to get it on PC. You probably won't ever see mods on console. But let me know what you think in the comments, and for more content, click here. And as always, until next time.